Commission is directly controlled by the Shogun. They're the ones responsible for maintaining law and order in Inazuma. But why would they take action against one of their own? Paimon doesn't get it. Huh? There seems to be some commotion over there. Let's go see what's happening.
I'll ask one more time. Do you intend to withhold this month's emergency provisions?
The entire clan is counting on that food. We demand an explanation.
How many times do I have to say it? I don't know anything about emergency provisions.
You dare deceive us? Those provisions are essential. Do you understand?
You samurai think you can just do whatever you please? The Tenryou Commission will hear of this.
Oh, huh? And who?
What? We heard the commotion and came.
I see. You seem to have come just at the... This is Kurosawa. He's a samurai and a member of the Shogun's army. They issue emergency provisions to the area, and he's the... In the past, we'd simply ask him for provisions and everything would be delivered. He's keeping the provisions for himself.
No one seems to care about us. We used to think Kurosawa was a kind man, but he's shown his true colors. It's no wonder all the visions have been confiscated. The Raiden
This must be one of the people Ayaka asked us to help. Maybe we should talk to Kuros.
I've never even heard of these emergency provisions. I don't know whether it's rumors or whether they're trying to blackmail me. But either way, it's ridiculous. My own family can barely get by as it is. No, that's the first bit of truth I've heard all day. The Shogun's army told me that I was unworthy of my vision. And they said I was slacking off in my work. Apparently, I'd even disappointed the Raiden Shogun.
Well, that's strange. You were helping enforce the vision hunt.
To be perfectly honest, all I know is that I will perform certain things every month. And it's not just...
Does it have to do with the missing emergency?
I didn't take any. Like I said, if I was taking them for my... To top it all off, my house was just raided by treasure hoarders. If you don't believe me, go...
But we better confirm. We should be able to follow...
We really outdid ourselves this time. All those samurai houses packed with goods.
You haven't seen anything yet. Today's just the beginning. I'll be leading you all on an epic...
You demand, boss!
These seem like the treasure hoarders we're after. Let's teach them a lesson!
Oh, there goes all the Mora. We worked hard to steal that, you know? Come on, boss. Think of something.
Not bad, kid. You ever think of joining the treasure hoarders? Kurosawa. Oh, I remember. So he's the one who sent you after us, huh?
So what did you see in...
Food supplies. You kidding? That place was I didn't want anyone else to see it, so I was planning on... But now that you've caught us, how about we make it...
You've got a deal!
Huh?
What the...
There's nothing in here.
Yeah. And they all seem to be made out to the owner of a general goods store. We better talk to this Miss All. As for you guys, you're free to go.
So, we redeemed ourselves for some...
Shut it.
Welcome to Tsukumomono Groceries. We've got or perhaps there's something you... Ah, so you're friends of Kurosawa.
Whoa! Let's not get... How did Kurosawa end up owing you so much money?
Let me think. Kurosawa would come regularly to purchase large quantities of foodstuffs. He'd always. However, the price of provisions began to skyrocket recently, and his salary was no longer enough to cover the cost.
So that's how he was getting those But why did he have to purchase a usual amount? If the prices increased, couldn't he?
Well, if you think about it, the citizens receiving the emergency provisions must have been carefully calculated. Kurosawa thought that it would be quite the disappointment for them if they found they didn't, so he deemed it necessary to take on the.
Wow. And no one ever appreciated what he did?
People's attitudes will always reflect their circumstances. In the face of. If you ask me, had Kurosawa told everyone the truth about the supplies, of course, I'm sure there would still have been some unrest. As for why he chose to spend his own money on emergency provisions and never. If you're still curious, why don't you. I see. Most unfortunate. If he doesn't clear the debt on his name, he'll have no choice but to.
Sword?
Oh, didn't he tell you? I've asked him about its origins. He told me that it was, in hindsight, I regret that I never made an offer on it. Everything has its price. Why don't you ask him about the sword yourself? Oh, but before. Information is also a kind. Don't worry. I won't charge much for information about Kurosawa.
At least we now know where the emergency provisions are coming from. Let's go talk to Kurosawa. What are you doing here all by yourself?
I presented them with a choice. It turned out to be a real time saver, actually. Did you manage to track down the treasure hoarder?
That just about sums it up. It turns out that you really were distributing emergency provisions.
Strange. Is that I don't really have any such recollection. Why was I purchasing emergency provisions for everyone? And why would I put... But I could not deny that when I brandished my sword to scare those two away, I could sense that my body was somehow... This sword was once with... I remember once when I was young, I wanted to sneak out with the blade and show it off to the kids next door. My father ended up catching me in the act and scolded me severely. What did he say? I can't seem to remember that either. It would seem that I forgot many important things when my vision was taken from me. So many memories gone. Forever. No matter how hard I try to remember. All I can remember now is my father telling me that this blade bore his life's creed. Before he passed away, he placed the sword in my hands and said to me, "With this sword, you should..."
Hey, if you look carefully, there seems to be some words engraved on the hilt. Can you recognize the words?
Virtue and justice? Somehow those two words seem to explain everything now. Taking on seemingly endless debts to make others happy. I guess that must have been my greatest ambition after all. But what use are virtue and justice? I purchased the provisions for those in... The Tenryo Commission seized my vision. And the very people I was so desperately trying to help refused to understand me. And the irony of all of it is, I somehow still felt sorry when threatening them with my blade. I'm incapable of being a good person, yet I'm equally unable to be bad. I don't know what to do.
Yet another troubled... When we get the chance, let's speak to Toma about Kurosawa's debt. In any case, we must never let him sell off that sword. Yeah, Seems like losing all ambition is a terrible experience. Fortunately for us, you don't have a vision. Let's go find the next porcelain. The third person who had their vision taken? Paimon heard that he's the present-day master. This is his dojo.
Nanako, don't worry. Sensei will be fine. Those thugs that challenged the dojo were strong, but he fought them all off in the end, didn't he?
Maybe, but I'm still worried about him. Things have gotten dangerous before in the past, but it's never shaken.
It's just because he's been possessed, that's all. Once the exorcism is
Hey there!
Who are you? I don't care whether you're trespassers or just here to harass us while Don't make me draw my blade, or you-
No! You got it so wrong. We just came here to...
Disciples?
Yep. We've heard all about the mighty master of Meikyo Shisui art. It's the whole reason we came all this way. But then we got here and
From the way you're dressed, it doesn't look like you're from around here. I see you are earnest in your pursuit. Sensei's name is Domon, a name I'm sure you've already heard. Though self-taught, he mastered the art of the sword to a high level. He then proceeded to defeat many. He once said that his goal was to become. And so, even while training us, he continued to hone his own. But then.
Not long ago, Sensei had his vision. He says the strangest things over and over. And he refused. Junya and I have discussed it, and we both think... But if I'm honest, I still have my doubts over whether he'll completely recover.
the Grand Narukami
You haven't heard of it? It's the largest shrine on Narukami Island. The head shrine maiden is not that we'd have any means of involving the head shrine maiden, of course. So don't worry, Nanako. Since the exorcism will take place this evening.
So, losing your vision can cause possession?
Shh. So you decided to come. It's a good thing you didn't just now, when Nanako was attending to him. When she asked him who the people were, it looked like he was in great distress. He was covering it. All the while he kept calling those names. Some of them we knew, others we didn't recognize. One of them was Anzai. He used to be a fellow disciple of Sensei's. Sensei wouldn't stop calling his name. The ritual has now begun. All we can do is patiently... Please, excuse me for a moment while I fetch some water.
Huh? Who's that sneaking around? We won't let them get away with... Seems they aren't here. Should we keep going further up? Is this definitely the right place? Let's look a little further up.
sure you're Domon's disciples? Unless...
Excuse me? And what are you doing,
Bad news? I don't care to talk about that time anymore.
His senior?
Anzai? Yes. Because I don't wish to see Domon or anyone. When we were young, we trained under the same... I had begun training 5 years before him, and everyone looked up to me as a Practitioners of Make-Yoshi Sui art seek to achieve stillness of mind, freedom from all agitation. So the majority of disciples are indifferent to rank and reward, but Domon was different. The first thing he did when he joined, Sensei scolded him and told him that the art of the sword should not... I thought so too at the time, but Domon began. Only then did I realize that it was He was consumed by his singular desire.
Sure sounds like he meant business.
Because until he arrived, I was convinced that I would succeed our sensei. Of all the disciples, I was the most Domon's arrival changed everything. When we sparred, I lost not just the match. Later, I heard that he sparred with Sensei too. Sensei was advanced in years by then, and unfortunately that match used up every last ounce of energy in his body. After that, I wanted nothing further to do with him. Deep down, though, I still respected his mastery of the blade and his commitment to the art of the sword. So, when I heard rumors that he had lost his mind, my first reaction was to dismiss them as false. How could he, of all people, have lost his... I decided to quietly come and see if it were true. Then, to my complete astonishment, so you see, I came here not to cause him any harm. I just wanted to see from... Okay, you've heard my story.
Seems like we got it wrong this... Still, Paimon's not sure we should bring him...
What? You're saying he isn't possessed? Does that mean he's just lost his mind?
Nanako, please. Try not to get agitated.
I am sorry. With what powers I have, I can find no sign of any malignant spirit having possessed Domon. But spirits may take a myriad of forms in this world, many of which I cannot claim to have witnessed myself. Thus, I dare not rule out possession with complete certainty, and all is certainly not lost. For I received word not...
Lady Yai?
The head shrine maiden of the Grand...
Correct. Lady Yai is most knowledgeable indeed. I am unable to say for certain whether an evil spirit has...
Excuse me, Miss Inagi.
That won't be necessary. All that is... I must leave now, but we will...
Who'd have thought Lady Yai herself would have taken...
Do you mean to say that Sensei isn't...
No, that's not what I meant. I just mean this is Lady Yai. Anyway, you should, given that you've traveled all this way just to meet our sensei.
Sure! After all, everyone seems pretty... Who knows? Maybe we'll be able to... Do you think that's Lady Yai? Oh, no wonder. Also, is it just Paimon? Or did she look right at us just now? It was probably...
Keep away. I gave up the art of the sword. Please, let me go, I beg you.
As you can see, Lady Yai, Domon has persisted in this state for some time now. He appears to see those who have lost to him in duels past, gathered all around...
Lady Yai, it must... This is nothing like him at all. In the...
I'm sorry. It is clear to me that your sensei is not possessed by any evil.
But...
Yes.
Unable to cope with the tremendous pressure he was under, he suffered a spiritual collapse. With his wits impaired, he finally descended into madness. As one who is thrown into the sea, though he fights back desperately against his predicament. As for what has triggered this change, I believe it must be the loss of his...
Stripped of his ambition? But Lady Yi, even without his ambition...
Your school practices make you stillness of mind, freedom from all agitation. There was once one who claimed to be indifferent to rank and reward, and who fled enraged when defeated by his junior. Then, what of the one who crossed blades with his own sensei and beloved fellow disciple, and defeated them both? Can one truly remain
Lady, I'm not sure
The path of the sword masters filled with twists. It requires one to take their sword firmly in both hands and cut down the hopes and dreams of others, even those of one's closest companions. Only a deep commitment to his ambition to become the best made it possible for him to rise above the pain of these encounters. When that ambition disappeared, he began to doubt himself. As he battled his growing anxiety, he slowly descended into the state you see him in now. Much like a certain fatally flawed friend of mine.
Poor Sensei. To think he's been...
I'm sorry. It's Father. Sensei. Ansai.
That's enough.
Huh? Isn't that... Did he follow us the whole way here?
Ansai. You're here for revenge, aren't you? I knew it would come.
You're right to assume that my feelings towards you are far from kind. It's been so long now that I made peace with it years ago. You did nothing. I don't think most of the people you beat along the way would hold it against you. On the contrary, when you cut our... Now I know that we can't place our hopes in you any longer. But that is no reason to strip them of theirs. Follow the way of the sword all the way to the highest peak.
But what if one day... I put everything I had into trying to become the best. But what if there's a chance they'll end up like me one day? I'd rather
Have you asked them what they think?
Sensei, after you rescued me, I can't know whether I will suffer in my future as you do now. I want to keep going until the day that I can stand before everyone with my head held high. And
Nanako's far from the only one. Actually...
Goodness.
You see? You can place the ambition you once had in there. Being stripped of your ambition is something that's never happened to me. So I can't... So, just as I once placed my ambitions onto you, it is time for you to release yours into their custody. You are not in the same position that I was. When I left...
I'm sorry to have made you worry for me, and for the state of... I no longer have the resolve to become the best in the world. The emptiness and suffering inside of me will not abate, so I cannot hope to still my... But as your sensei, I shall commit to imparting unto you everything I have learned in my life so far. This is my promise. And I humbly ask Ansai, my senior, to hold me to my word.
You can count on that. I'd be checking in on you occasionally anyway, just to make sure you hadn't lost your mind again. But I am now used to the life of a wanderer. I do not belong in the dojo anymore, so I will simply stop by one... Well, don't just stand...
So even though his ambition was taken away, his disciples can take it over on his behalf.
Traveler, a moment, please.
So, my intuition was correct. The wind that blows from afar carries fresh life to these shores. For us to meet now is premature. Nevertheless, you set foot on these islands at precisely the right moment. I have high hopes for you, child. Don't disappoint me.
Ooh, Lady Yi seems to have taken a real interest in you. She seems super mysterious. Paimon's so curious what she really meant by all that. We can come back to it another time. For now, we should go report back to Miss Kamisato.